you answer a phone, or you browse something, then it sits there doing nothing. And so firms in England trying to compete with Intel are making chips for this. That doesn't have to be so powerful. Because if the smartphone works every time and you do everything every second, then it has to be very powerful. But most of the time you don't do anything. And so you could disrupt Intel by coming with some kind of a low-end disruption there and helping. I don't know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you gotta excuse me. So next week, what do we do next week? Nothing. There is no class next week. Yay! You know, yes, one. A hand of applause for the no class today. It's midterm week, yeah, but so we don't have a midterm. We'll get somewhere. All right. Well, today, very exciting day. What we're going to do is we're going to try to finish disruptive innovation. You know, we started last week. Hopefully you're interested in it. If not, by the end of today's class, I'm very hopeful that you will be interested. So you will say to yourself, yeah, I'm going to read some of Clay's books. You know, I'm excited, man. I can't wait to read those books. Well, that probably won't happen. At least you'll build up some interest. And I'll introduce his books to you today. What we're going to do for the first half of this class is I'm going to try to talk about disruptive innovation, you know, the main parts. And then we'll take a break as usual. And then in the second part of the class, I have a case prepared. And I'm going to give you about 20 minutes to read, because you guys are fast readers. And then we'll discuss that case, okay? And then hopefully your idea of disruptive innovation and these things bring a lot of interest to you, and then your understanding of it is much more strengthened by at the end of this. Okay? Any questions before we start? Any questions or comments? Okay, none. All right, that's good. Well, at least it's consistent. Yes, so no, you're breaking the consistency, Andy. You gotta be consistent, man. No. Go ahead.
Do you think the Galaxy S5 and the new smartphone, is the market for smartphones going to be a continuous sustaining innovation? Will we see any low-end distribution and some new market disruption anytime soon?
In my opinion? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Do not ever ask a person for their prediction, Andy. Don't, especially experts, because you know they're always wrong. Do not ever ask for prediction. When you get a lawyer, do not ever, if you're in a lawsuit, don't ever ask your lawyer. Ask your lawyer about this. What's the base rate? Base rate means based on the past evidence, you know, of the win and loss. These are the base rates. I'm divorced with my wife. I'm getting a divorce. I need a divorce with my wife. And you get a lawyer, all right? And then you ask your damn lawyer, what is the base rate, the average in the past of winning this lawsuit? How much money do I give my wife and things? You ask that, because he knows the past data. But do not ever ask your lawyer this. You think I'm going to win? Because he or she does not know. And if you ask these experts, they're more wrong than they're right. And so don't ever ask a professor for their prediction. Don't ever ask me to pick stocks, man. Because I can pick it for you. But a blinded monkey is better than me. Sorry. Actually, I'm not joking. You know, don't ask experts, you know, for their predictions. You know, they're always wrong, especially economists. But you can ask them about past, you know, because they know about past data. We'll talk about those issues. Andy, very good question. You know, although I don't know, we can ask your classmates. You know, and together we can discuss maybe after we listen more to disruptive innovation, whether the industry for smartphones, what's ahead in the future. More sustaining innovations, more disruptive innovations. The iPhone, is this a disruptive innovation? You know, or the Galaxy S Note, Galaxy S5, is this a disruptive innovation, or is this a sustaining innovation? And who's going to come up with the next disruptive innovation? Apple or Samsung? And is disruptive innovation always better? Can sustained innovation be better than disruptive innovation? When do you do a sustaining innovation, and when should you do a disruptive innovation? These questions, all very important. We'll discuss those things, hopefully today. Okay. Thanks for bringing it up. Be a little patient, I know you are. Okay, so let me start now, and then at any time, you can raise your hand, please. Preferably raise your hand, and then we'll discuss together your questions or comments. So I think this is where I introduced you to two types of discussion last time, right? This graph, right? Yes, no. Yeah. Okay, good, thank you. Some signals. Remember I told you, if I repeated a joke, man, he told that joke before. Give me a signal, because I forget. I have all these lectures. I'm lecturing you. I have to go to the MS program. I'm just coming back from Samsung. All these. I don't know what I'm talking about everywhere I go, and so I forget. And so if I do the same joke, especially, give me a signal. And like something. Oh, okay. I did that joke again. I'm sorry. And I'll stop because I hate watching the same movie. I hate watching the same joke. So let me. Sarah, did you have something to say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I'm just wondering from last time. The example that the disruptive innovation there is sounds good. When you talk about electronics or the consumer products,
Sure.
But in products that are not products that are really necessary, like drugs, for example.
Oh, they're necessary. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A weed once in a while is very good for happiness.
What is it?
Medicine.
Medicine, yeah. Like drugs.
You need the better quality products. So the thing that has the fewer features or less energy is not going to
I see. Okay, and this is an excellent point. Think about this as we discuss this. Sarah's point is that we're talking about performance. That's the y-axis. In terms of TVs, bigger TVs, more color TVs, high definition TVs. Things that maybe we want, but we don't necessarily need. Those things, maybe this thing can happen. But in terms of drugs, medicine, pharmaceuticals, you want better ones, don't you? Nobody wants a worse drug. So how does that apply to disruptive innovation? So does that mean in the pharmaceutical industry there's only going to be sustaining innovation, where you keep on improving the performance of the drug? Or can there be situations that are ripe for some kind of disruptive innovation, such as low end or such as new market? Excellent question. For that, I point out to you the most recent book that Clay Christen wrote with two doctors. It's called, I forgot what it's called. Oh, Innovative Prescription. And it's about the pharmaceutical and hospital industry. And who are the sustaining innovators? And who are going to disrupt them? When are they going to disrupt them? How are they going to disrupt them? And that's his most recent book, 2009. And he talks about disruptive innovation in the medical, pharmaceutical, and hospital industry. And so if you're interested in medical industry, hospitals or things like that, and disruptive innovation, you should check out that book. It's most recent. And in the first two chapters, he talks about disruptive innovation in a general sense, so get, to summarize. And then he talks about mostly about, and then the book that he wrote before, in the 2007, was about, the title is Disrupting Class. What is that about? Disrupting class. What does that mean? It's about the education industry. And who are the sustaining innovators right now in education, especially universities, not primary education, it's university. And who are the sustaining innovators? Who's going to disrupt them? How they're going to disrupt them? When they're going to disrupt them? And he wrote this in 2007. And it's happening. Man, it's happening. Harvard is being disrupted. Columbia is being disrupted. Yonsei University is being disrupted. Oh no. and so, if you're interested in education, I'll point to you in that direction. And then today I'm going to introduce to you two books of plays, which are the most general ones. It talks about many industries, but not one in particular. And these are the two main books. But there are many others about specific industries. So we could talk about those issues, about pharmaceutical and Sarah's point. So great ending, Sarah. Yeah, with just a little patience and we'll talk. Yes, Grace.
I don't think it has to, like, for necessary goods, it doesn't always have to be sustaining innovation, because I think transportation is pretty necessary in life. But we went from like carriage to cars,
Sure.
and it was getting better, but that was like a destruction too, that we don't really see many.
It depends on where you live.
In the city, not in.
Yes.
And like we went from like stone tools to metal tools.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest disruptive innovations in the 20th century is Henry Ford's car, the Model T. It's a disruptive innovation, and it disrupted the transportation prior to using horses, carriages. But it's a low-end disruption because it was so cheap. Because it's a low. He found a way, as you guys know, to reduce his costs. You know, mass production, and give everybody a car, basically. And that's the Model T. And then the way he lowered the cost was he didn't have much variety. Henry Ford is the most famous saying is this: "I created the Model T, man. You know, this is for every American, and it's cheap. You know. And by the way, you can pick any color you want, as long as it's black." Not funny? Henry Ford. And so he gave one color, black, and that's how he reduced the cost. Low-cost business model, and disrupted the transportation industry. So again, great point by Grace. Maybe things can happen. You need it, but it can also be a disruptive innovation. As Clay talks about about the pharmaceutical industry in that book. But it's something to think about, because Sarah's point is also correct, because nobody wants worse, performance, especially in terms of pharmaceutical things. So, but then how can you disrupt? And so we will talk about this. Great. I mean, this is great. These are so good questions, as usual. Okay, so this means you guys are, always smart, but this means that you're very interested in this theory. So this is a very good sign. So let me continue a little bit with this lecture, because there's a little more to lecture that will help you as you read these books. Because I've read these books many times. I've lectured, and so I've thought about these issues for a long time. So these are this is my 2 cents regarding disruptive innovation. So hopefully it'll help you as you think about these issues. I introduced you to 2 types of disruptive innovation, so everybody knows it by now, these things, so it's great. But as I mentioned last time before, as we ended, can you feel how scary this theory is, though? Because this theory is very scary. Not only is it very good, it's also very scary. But then I asked you, I don't know if you can feel how scary this is. And probably most of you cannot feel it right now. Because as I mentioned, Clay Christensen's biggest contribution is disruptive innovation. But inside disruptive innovation, his biggest contribution is the process of disruptive. See, he showed us through research how these sustaining leading firms die. And he showed us through research how these non-sustaining, non-leading firms eventually overtake the leading firms, and they become the leading firms. And so this is the process of disruption. And then I'm going to introduce that to you right now. And if you, once you hear this, hopefully you'll feel how scary this is, and how frightening this is. Okay? Did I introduce to you this RPV theory last time? Okay, so let me introduce you very quickly, and then I'll introduce the disruptive innovation process. The reason is that this RPV theory, this in and of itself is very important. And this is one of the best theories we've developed in the past 50 years in strategy. But the reason I'm introducing this theory here now is that there's a lot of relationship between this theory and disruptive innovation theory. What I'm trying to say is this. You guys are very smart, so you will understand disruptive innovation theory, the disruptive innovation process. You'll understand all that when I introduce it, because you're smart. But my goal is not for you to understand this stuff. That's not my goal. You gotta understand it, guys. You guys are MBA. My goal is this. Once you hear this and you understand it, this is what I want.